Hello all, let us talk about the transmission lines on PCB. So transmission lines on PCB, if you hear this terminology for a beginner, uh, it looks strange, but yes, um, there are transmission lines or there is routing similar to transmission lines on the PCB, or there is routing on the PCB which behaves similar to the transmission line. So there are different ways to put it. Now, for a beginner, what is a transmission line? So a transmission line is nothing but which carries some current because it is a conductor. So from everyone we hear that the electrical lines that are passing overhead, we call them the transmission lines. So we hear a lot of times from our elders not to go underneath the lines. So this is one kind of transmission line. This is another kind of transmission line. So anything, any cable, coaxial cable or any kind of cable which carries electrical current can be called a transmission line. Like example, if you see the scope, so that also carries a minimal current, even though it is minimal, that is also called a transmission line. So if you are probing something from a circuit, and if you are displaying something, that is also a transmission line. So everything which carries some electrical current with some topology around it, we call it a transmission line. So it is clear, it helps us to transmit the signal from one place to another. Now this is how the model of a transmission line looks like. So before going into the transmission line model, let us talk about what is a lumped model or a distributed model. So let us assume I have a battery and I have a resistor and then a LED. So the simple circuit example, the voltage and then a resistor and a LED. So now this particular circuit, you can see here the resistance can be represented and the respective circuitry is with this kind of circuit model is called a lumped model, where you can represent it using an equivalent circuit. Whereas a distributed model is nothing but the resistance, capacitance and inductance will be distributed over a period of over a long distance, like the cable, and this representation could be exact reflection of one of the lumped model, or it could vary based on the cable characteristics. So what we mean to say here is basically a cable can be represented by something called a distributed model, where the distributed model will have the inductance of that cable, the capacitance of that cable, the series resistance, the conductance of that cable over the length of the cable. Now how we represent this is, we take a section of the cable, we represent its inductance, capacitance, and then we replicate the same over the length of the cable. So that is how a distributed model comes up. Now the question is, why we are talking about a PCB and a transmission line model. So answer to that is basically we have to know some background. Generally when you are using a simple microcontroller based circuit, so you draw a schematic and then you import that schematic netlist into the PCB and you draw the traces, and you complete the PCB layout, give it for fabrication. So now you can route these signals either in the inner layer or the outer layer. So when you're talking about a simple microcontroller based design, and you have like analog or a small digital interface, 16 cross 2 LED or a switch or a LED or some PWM kind of thing, the frequency associated with these signals is very less, right? Now let us assume a scenario where you are doing a processor based board, a 10 layer 16 layer kind of PCB, where you have high speed designs like the SATA, the PCIe, and the Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet, or the USB. So these kind of high speed designs. So we will talk in further videos on why the significance of these frequencies is compared to low frequencies. But for now, let us assume that these kind of high frequency signals, the SATAs, the PCIes, or whatever we are talking here, when they are routed over a PCB, they behave as a transmission line. That means if you have a transmission line or a conductor conducting from A to B, whatever the characteristics exhibited by this cable will be exhibited by these traces. So this, there will be a scenario replicated on the PCB itself. So that is why at high frequencies the signals behave, we say that signals behave as transmission lines. So why they behave and all we will discuss later. For now, let us assume that that is the scenario. So these traces, as we know, could be a single-ended traces, which could be a high frequency one, or a differential traces, which is the norm for routing the signals. For example, you take the LVDS kind of signal. So there are single-ended traces, differential traces, power traces. There are different traces associated with it. But the high frequency traces which are associated, we call them the transmission lines. So now when you see the frequency ranges of these, there will be a low frequency range, there will be high frequency range, and if you see the RF signals, you see that the frequency goes beyond gigahertz, and that is where you design your circuits, right? So now in these scenarios, when you go to RF for the high speed signals, this transmission line criteria comes into picture. So for these scenarios, or even for a low frequency PCB also, there are some methodologies we call for routing the signals. There are different methods. So we will not talk about inner depth of all those methods. There are two methods basically. One is a strip line and one is micro strip line. So we will talk about the strip line here. So this is called a strip line topology for routing, where there will be a reference layer 1, reference layer 2, and then you have a routing in between. So that means what we are talking here is basically there will be the routing is embedded into the PCB. Like example, if you have a 4-layer board and or example a 10-layer board, let us take a higher one, and if you want to route a signal in the 6th layer, example, this case what we are saying here is this routing is done in the inner layer, and such a routing is called a strip line. As simple as to remember that. Now when you talk only about a single signal, you call it a strip line, but definitely you will have multiple kinds of topologies for routing, whether it be single-ended or a differential, or if you have some kind of RF based coupling routing topologies you want to use. In that case, you will have edge coupled or the broadside coupled. So the edge coupled is used for the differential routing in a strip line topology, and the broadside coupling is used for some of the RF applications where you want to couple the signals up and down rather than one above the other, parallel to each other, rather than running parallelly beside them. So which is the case of edge coupled. Now There is one more topology in the strip line itself, one is which is called the symmetric strip line or the asymmetric strip line. So what a symmetric strip line or asymmetric strip line does is symmetric strip line is nothing but this inner signal whatever is routed is equidistant from the two dielectrics which is above and below this strip line. Now asymmetric strip line is the case where the routing is not symmetrical. So you can see the difference. There are cases a PCB layout engineer easily understands where the spacing between the immediate layers of the the stack up would vary. Like example, if I have a conducting layer, signal layer at X in the internal layer, the upper plane, the next plane to it could be at a distance of example 1 mil, and the bottom layer could be at a distance of 2 mils. This is just an example to give an overview. So that is how we can say a symmetric strip line or a asymmetric strip line. Coming to the micro strip line, so micro strip line is nothing but the normal routing that you do on the top and bottom layer of the PCB. This is called micro strip line, where there won't be any layer above the microstrip. So in this microstrip also there is something called embedded microstrip, where if you have some solder mask on top of this layer laid out, then that means there is a layer above this microstrip. Such a routing is called such a case is called embedded microstrip. But when you mean embedded microstrip, it doesn't mean that the transmission line would be routed internally. It is just that there is a solder mask covering on top of this strip line. Now in the strip line we have talked about the differential routing. Similarly, you will have the differential routing that will be done on the top layer also, just to connect the devices or ICs. Definitely the routing will be done in the inner layer, preferably for a high speed design, but there will be some part of the signal that must be routed on the top or bottom layer for the connectivity to be formed to ICs. So in such cases we use a topology called twin strip. So this is used for cases of twin strip. There is another topology called the slot line. So the slot line is nothing but the cases where you can use it for designing the antennas, where you will have two lines and then there will be a common ground plane underneath. So these are the cases where you use for antennas, these are the cases where you use for differential signals. And then there is something called coplanar microstrip line, where you will have a transmission line that is surrounded by ground plane on the either sides. So if you see here, this will be one ground routing, and this will be another ground routing, and in between you will have the signal routing. So this kind of topology is called the coplanar waveguide, which is the case used in the microstrip line topologies. And then in extension to these coplanar waveguides, you will have something called conductor backed coplanar waveguide, CPW, where you will have a additional ground support which helps in sinking the heat that is there on the board. So basically this is provided to have the thermal support, as well as also it helps to give additional stamina to the PCB. So these are the different kinds of routing topologies. Now designer uses the routing intermittently, but where we see the need of knowing all these topologies is if you have a specific signal which need to be routed, and then how the signal behaves under different scenarios. When you need to understand such scenarios, you see the need of understanding these topologies and how they behave under those conditions. So in future videos we will talk more about the different topologies, what are the electrical characteristics, and how the behavior, and what are the different simulation methods that are available to judge the performance of these topologies. Thanks for watching.